On the way over to Pennsylvania, it has been a blizzard the whole way here. I was a little surprised it was this bad getting over here. Now it's a little more bare where we're at now. I'm still about 40 minutes out to qualify Sparkling Goal. We'll talk about him in a minute. We'll talk about a number of things in a minute. But I wanted to start my video with Remembrance Day in Canada, or Veterans Day here. You know, there's obviously a wide berth between horse racing and the armed forces. But I will start my video whether you're wherever you are. We have a lot of clients in a lot of countries. But if you are in or were in the armed forces, I personally thank you for your service. I have a tremendous, deep fondness for all the armed forces, and the reason being, my grandfather, James McDonald, oddly enough, that's who James is named after. James Fiddler McDonald was his name, or how everybody knew him. He was one of the Canadians that were on Normandy Beach first, and I was only a kid, and I don't remember him telling me many stories about it, but I with Google and with just searching, I ended up, Mark actually did a lot of investigating and ended up with some audio tapes of my grandfather talking about the war and talking about what it was like. And I remember, when I was a kid, he was ancient, he was an old man, and I know that he had shrapnel in his leg. And I remember when I was a kid, I asked him what that was, and he told me all about it. And I can only imagine, we take a lot for granted. You want to talk about putting your life in perspective? Think about what it was like, those kids jumping off that boat on a Normandy Beach when they were kids. It's utterly incredible to think about. And as I said, I have a deep respect for the armed forces. So again, to everybody out there that served or is serving, thank you for your service. Now, we'll move into the horse racing portion of this video, and I haven't been in the barn. Yesterday I was in Ontario speaking about fractional ownership. I had a good time. It's what I enjoy doing. I know you guys joke about how I like to speak, but I enjoy speaking about especially things that I'm passionate about. And fractional ownership and the stable.ca is not just a job. It's not just a company. It's something that I believe can help save this industry. I can't do it, but if there's a number of trainers that open up fractional ownerships, and we have infrastructure in place to help foster those stables, those programs, then I think we can be well on our way to actually putting this industry back in the sightline, as I called it the other day, back in the sightline of the general public. Now, for us today, as I said, I'm on my way over to qualify Sparkling Volo. We'll buy horses from time to time, and generally these horses fit into a few groups, right? That immediate impact horse, I always want to buy the immediate impact horses, but there are times where you buy those fixer-uppers, right? You see a little bit of that. Now, I thought Raging Hanover would be an immediate impact horse, and he is in a sense, but he was erratic, and I was trying to get him to a place where he was confident, he was consistent. And at that point, he would be an impact horse. It wouldn't be of the immediate nature. Tally the Tab is an immediate impact type horse. Fits classes, can win classes. Maybe I made an error. I had Jason said, are we going to wait a week to race Tally the Tab? I said, no, strike when the iron's hot. I said, just get her in to go at Dayton, I guess. The condition claimer, she didn't get in. That's a straight nominers at 4 tomorrow. But quite frankly, coming off a pretty good mile at Northfield, I think if she is able to find herself in a striking position, then she'll be just fine tomorrow. But again, it's much like the conversation we had about Trosa from post 8, right? Or Rock Shining Star from post 9. There's two sides of that coin. If you can find yourself into a striking position from an outside post with a horse that actually does belong, then you can do some damage. But if you can't get into that striking position, or the class is actually a little tougher than you even thought it was, then you end up more like Rock Shining Star, where you just have to go around, right? So I don't know which one Tally the Tab fits into. She's going to tell us tomorrow, but has made an immediate impact and can easily just drop right back in at Northfield and start pounding them again, I believe, is where she fits. And then you have horses like Sparkling Volo, the fixer-uppers, right? And I'm not going to talk much about the third file, because those are the horses that just didn't work out for us. Just not what we're looking for, and we turned them back over. There's at least one or a couple more in our barn right now that are like that, and we'll be moving them on, right? So you have those three groups. Sparkling Volo fits right in the fixer-upper group, but when I look at a $300,000 yearling that had some obvious issues training down, I don't mean physical lameness, I just mean interfering, making breaks, and then the horse that I went with last week, I didn't see any of that. Yeah, he'll make breaks, because what happens is those horses, when their confidence is low, their default is a break. Their default is to just tip over and explode. And you want to get them away from that. You want to get them, and quite frankly, this may sound a little corny to you, but get them proud of the work they're doing. And then that confidence starts to grow, and then all of a sudden you start to see, hopefully see, that horse that was purchased 2 years ago. And that's where we're at with Sparkling Volo. I would love nothing more than to see Sparkling Volo go out and get qualified and look great this morning. But that will be up to him, right? I can only do the best job I can do as as we head into the latter part of the morning in the snow. I don't know if it's snowing over there, but it appears it probably is. But we can only do so much. But I think this horse is on the cusp of coming forward, and that's where I see him. There's still 6 shares of Go Boom available on the site. I just looked when I left the house this morning. Maybe they're all gone. I have no idea. But I can never always just figure you guys out. There's sometimes we'll buy a horse and they're gone. Literally, I can't remember what horse it was. We bought a horse this summer. It was literally gone in under 2 minutes. All of the shares gone in under 2 minutes, which is shocking, to be honest. And then you buy a horse like Go Boom. Here's a horse that's now I know he's a little pricier at $72,000, but here's a full brother to Long Tom, a 3/4 brother to In Range, a former $200 and some $1,000 yearling that does have talent. Won the Reynolds at 2 at Tioga, has raced in major stake races, and looks good. Jogged him yesterday. Jason Colby said, "No, he looks good. I like that horse." Perfect. We'll get him qualified, racing this week, next week. And then you'll have horses like Stay Charming. If it's just about money, you Stay Charming. There's a $13,000 purchase, and the story behind that horse it's a good story. I'll tell it to you quick. I've told it to you before. So, Stay Charming was, I thought, not quite our top-end horse. He was a big, huskier, chunkier horse, and his pedigree was good, but maybe just a hair below. Somebody messaged me yesterday and said, well, his pedigree is almost identical on paper to Atomic Hanover. And I said, well, no, they're totally different. I see what you're saying. Generally speaking, they're similar, but they're not the same horse. Pip 67 was the brother by Sweet Lou to Limelight Beach. Ron Burke bought him for $70,000. This is out of an Always Be Mickey sister to Limelight Beach. Now, the Sweet Lou horse looked like a Sweet Louie, little white blaze. He's, flashier looking. Looked very athletic in the field, where this guy looked like a linebacker. He is gigantic. Big boy, big bones, nice head on him. The thing that I liked the most about this horse, I remember recalling vaguely, or vividly to Amy, was when we were at Vauquerie, or however you want to say it, farm, at the consignment, there was horses bouncing around. And this horse just kind of looked at them. He just kind of sized them up, saw what they were up to, and just kind of going. He didn't flip out. He didn't go crazy. And he did have his moments, but what I thought was interesting was, in an opportunity to flip out, with every right to flip out, horses on either side of him, just feet away, acting up, he was chill. He was quiet. So this was the third foal from an Always Be Mickey sister to the mother of Limelight Beach, the Limelight Beach Benear. Now, oddly enough, in Ontario, and this is where this story kind of turns in a little bit. In Ontario at the sale, you heard me talk about how I was angry about the bid spotters, and how I left the sale, and how the horse I did want, our high-end pacer, was at the sale. I was bidding on the horse. When I walked away, James looked at me and said, I thought you were going to 140. It said 140 on my book. I said I just can't. These guys are ridiculous. I left. That was the last horse I bid on. I packed up my stuff and I left. And James bought Miss Shazam later on. He said, "You're not staying to bid on the filly." And I said, "No, you bid on the filly. I'm leaving." And I left and went back to Ohio. And it was simply because of the bid spotters. Now, funny story, the horse in question, the very horse in question, was a Bulldog Hanover out of a sister to Limelight Beach. This exact same line. In fact, the mares are both by Always Be Mickey. The one in Ontario was a Bulldog out of an Always Be Mickey mare who's a sister to Benear, who's a sister to, or out of Benear, who's a sister to Limelight Beach. The exact same line. That horse sold for 110. I was going to 140. 10% of that is what we bought this colt for, Stay Charming. It was funny because day 3 at Harrisburg, we all went out to the Italian place. Steve loves it. It's actually a great place to eat. He'll come to me in a second, name it. And the Downies come out with us. John was out, Amy and I, and the table down there was Carl Jameson and Jody Jameson, and the table beside us, behind us was Bo Brown, Tisha, and the table beside us. That's the great thing about Harrisburg. What's so cool is all of these restaurants are full of horse people in Harrisburg. The table beside me was Jack Darling. And I looked over and said, "Oh, Jack." So we talked about the London sale. And and I'm telling the story about the Limelight Beach Colt. Because the way we got talking about it was the bid spotters. There was something went on, and I bid on one, and I wasn't buying both the horses, but for all intents and purposes, I told the story the way it was. I was probably going to 85 or 90 on the horse. I stopped at 72 because of that bid spotter. That's where it started, and then it spilled over into this next horse, which was the Limelight Beach line. And Jack was the one who bought the horse. So I'm telling Jack the story, and I said, well, honestly, I was going to 140, and I had my iPad, I pulled it open, there it is on the page, 140. He goes, "Well, I wasn't going to 140. And I said, "Well, you got the horse, and this is exactly why." And he goes, "Funny you say that. I had a couple of people that had complained about the bid spotters not taking bids or missing bids. And people miss bids all the time. But the not taking bids, anyway, I don't want to go down that road. I just found it odd. I found it very interesting that the guy at the heart of this story, which was Jack, who bought the horse, was sitting there, and we were talking about the colt, and he said he liked him, nice colt, and he was. But that colt is the exact same family as Stay Charming, and the exact same family as hip number 67. Now, 67 was out of Benear, like the 14th foal by Sweet Lou. Ron Burke bought that horse for $70 US. Jack Darling bought Bulldog Hanover colt out of a sister to Limelight Beach for $110,000, and it would have been a lot more had I been there. Had I not had a little hissy fit and left. Now you fast forward to hip number 83 in Harrisburg. That was Stay Charming, the exact same family as all three of those horses. Now they all look a little different. One's a Bulldog, one's a Sweet Lou, one is obviously the hell is he by? I forget what our horse was by. Oh, he's by Stay Hungry. What am I talking about? So you have a Stay Hungry, a Bulldog Hanover, and a Sweet Lou. But here's the pedigree that was going to be our high-end horse. The pedigree that I liked at hip number 67, and now the pedigree that we bought, the exact same pedigree, for $13,000, and lo and behold, nobody bought him. So I had said it when we bought the horse, that this horse will sell out in 2 seconds, and instead he is not. So nevertheless, I've given up trying to figure out, I never go and buy horses because they will sell out quickly. I bought Stay Charming because I like him, and whether he sells out quickly or not, he will sell out because he is a good looking horse. A lot of these horses, once you guys get to see them on video, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So last night we raced Winter Soldier. He raced great. Tyler had messaged me after and said, "I moved him too early." He said, Danny's horse was hanging. I just thought I could get around them. And I said, well, because it looked like you were going to get around them. That's why. It's not your fault. I think most drivers would have done the exact same thing. It's a half-mile track. The horse in the front looks done, or is coming back to them. The horse first over looks like he's chewed. You don't want to get stuffed in behind it. You don't want to not move. And at the same time, you want to get him moving. So I think he made the same move that most people would make. In fact, I would have made the same thing probably. But it ended up costing him probably first or second. He ended up third. But he drove the horse well to get there. You know, I like giving Tyler a chance. I know Tyler might see me list other people. You know, when I talk to Jason, I say, what do you think? When we list other people on horses, one, we have a responsibility to our clients. I can't have Aaron Merriman or Ronnie Wren sitting in the driver's room and list other people and at the same time, I want to list Tyler on horses he'll do well with, not just for him, but for us. I want to see you guys seeing Tyler win races for us so that we use them. It wasn't that long ago. There are a group of clients that were here back when James McDonald started driving in Mohawk, and I can pull up the emails because I've kept them all, of people saying, hey, maybe we should try somebody else in this horse. It just doesn't seem like James gets along with him, or James just has him too far back. He doesn't have him in the hunt. And lo and behold, now James is two-time world driving champion. And I don't get those emails anymore for the most part. Now I will end my video this morning talking about my brother James and how proud I am of him. As we started the video with me talking about how proud I was of my family and my grandfather on Veterans Day and Remembrance Day, and remembering him, what he stood for and who he was. I think it's important to finish today talking about my brother James, who just won the World Driving Championship for the second time. Not an easy thing to do. You have to win a very difficult competition in your country, and in this case in Canada, to be selected the driver of choice for Canada. You have to win that title here, there, and then you have to go to another country, and then you have to beat all the other best drivers that were nominated in their countries by winning a competition. And that's how you become the world driving champion. He's done it twice. So big shout out to my brother. I think we all know the raw talent that is James McDonald. I think we all know, you know, he's a great guy. As I said it in a post yesterday on Facebook, you don't cheer for James McDonald, you're just miserable, because he's probably one of the most entertaining, you know, energetic and polite people you ever meet. Just a very, very good person. As I said it yesterday, if you stood beside him in an elevator or sat beside him in a bar, you would never think he was anything other than a waiter, or, you know, a beer league hockey player, or a guy who works at UPS. You'd never know that he was the best driver in a country for quite potentially now 5 years in a row. Just a really, really good guy, and just the easiest human being on earth to root for. So I am proud of all my brothers. I said that also in my post yesterday. We all cheer for one another. We all try to lift each other up, and just super, super proud of the accomplishments of James. So congratulations to him from me, and from all of you, all of us at the stable. So that is it for today. I turned one third place finish into 18 minutes and 30 seconds. That's why I was late yesterday, because I turned a summit that was from 2 to 3 o'clock into 2 to 3:25. So I'm away over today. Good luck to all my partners today. I want to get this colt qualified, but I want to keep him moving in the right direction. I think very highly of him, and I think we're having a lot of fun with Sparkling Volo, not just today, tomorrow, but down the road in the future. So take care. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to send me a message. I will be around all day long. I got another half an hour drive over to the Meadows, then I got a 2-hour drive back. I won't be racing tonight. As you know, Blue Ventura is scratched. He tied up. There's not much we can do about that. We will get him also squared away and moving forward in the coming days, weeks, and months. Take care, everybody. Have a great Tuesday. Have a great Veterans Day or Remembrance Day, or wherever you are day. Take care.